Wow. Thank you, Stacey. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Denise, it's so good to see you.
Likewise. Beautiful black background you have there.
Thank you.
But welcome to Win TV, and it's a great thing to know that you're there with the March of Dimes. Tell us just briefly what the March of Dimes is, what your mission is.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's great to be on Win TV and great to be with all of your viewers and listeners. The March of Dimes is that video just reminded people we've been around for a long time, since 1938. We were actually started by President Franklin Roosevelt in the midst of another health crisis, right? The polio epidemic that was going on at the time. Another virus that people caught, and we didn't know how or why it was transmissible through any means of a transmission, and people didn't understand how you got it, but you got it, and you could be really severely affected, causing paralysis, sometimes leading to death. The March Times led the fight to really raise the money for the vaccine research that Dr. Jonas Salk pursued, leading to a vaccine. And so it's interesting that we find ourselves in this place now, where we are now 83 years later, still working on other issues around public health. But today, what the March Times is working on is around healthy moms and healthy babies. We continue to do work around healthier babies throughout that period of time after the vaccine was developed under polio. Today, we're working on really the issues around helping to keep moms healthy during pregnancy and childbirth, helping to keep babies healthy, looking at the issues of premature birth and infant mortality, and especially, Denise, looking at the issues of equity, health equity. Because to your earlier point around kidney disease, I heard you talk about that. It is also true with every other health indicator, but certainly it is true for maternal infant health, that it is our community and women that look like me and our babies that look like my kids that are disproportionately impacted as a result of premature birth and infant mortality, even maternal mortality and death as a result of pregnancy and childbirth, Black women dying at higher rates than white women. So that's the work of the March Times today.
I'm so glad that you're here to talk about this, and also, it's something unless you're in that stage of life, you're not really thinking about this pandemic and the impact on pregnant women, and also women who are seeking to become pregnant. How COVID-19 within itself, the virus itself, affects those women, and what impact the vaccine has on them. Is this something that the March of Dimes is looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when the pandemic hit, it immediately, not only did it shut down society and life as we know it, but it really started to impact everyday life. And one of the things that I think a lot of people weren't thinking about at the time, especially if you weren't pregnant, is the impact that COVID-19 has had on women who are pregnant during this pandemic. Not only the kind of fear and anxiety that women have been experiencing because of the fear of getting COVID-19, but just how to keep themselves safe, and whether or not COVID-19 would impact not only the mom, but also the babies themselves. And so at the March Times, we've been doing a ton of work on a couple fronts. One is to provide education to women to make sure that pregnant women especially know how to keep themselves safe, what they need to know about surviving the pandemic, keeping themselves safe and their babies safe through the pandemic. But also, one of the things that we advocated for very early on in the pandemic was making sure that pregnant women could be included in the clinical trials, because that's where we are today. We have a vaccine. To your point earlier, Denise, you mentioned it. It is wonderful. But what's a struggle today is that many pregnant women were not included in the clinical trials. And there's some good reasons for that, right? But the problem is that when we don't have pregnant women, where we don't have the evidence, the hard evidence that we typically like to see to know whether or not a vaccine is safe and effective, when pregnant women were not included in that, it's been difficult, I should say, to give 100% confidence to women around the safety and the efficacy if you're pregnant for the vaccine. But what we do know is that based on all the science and evidence, and also based on the risk that many pregnant women face, finding themselves in communities where COVID-19 might be really running rampant, that in many ways, when you weigh the cost and benefit of getting the vaccine versus not, for many pregnant women, If they choose to have the vaccine, we're encouraging them to do that. And we know based on tens of thousands of women that have pregnant women who've gotten the vaccine, there really are no red flags, no warning signs that would suggest that the vaccine is not safe for pregnant women. But this has been a tough time, a tough challenge, and a very hard time for women to navigate through, especially if you're pregnant.
So is the March of Dimes a place where pregnant women or can reach out to and get information about if they have questions or concerns? I mean, of course they can. I'm sure you would tell them to talk to their own medical provider about it.
Absolutely.
But does the March of Dimes provide information as well?
Oh my goodness, we are one of the best resources at marchofdimes.org. If you're pregnant, thinking about becoming pregnant, have a newborn baby, go to marchofdimes.org. It has a ton of information. In our community, Denise, as Black women, we often suffer not only at higher rates of potentially having complications around pregnancy and childbirth, but our babies often are facing a high risk of being born prematurely, maybe not surviving to their first birthday. We have a lot of women that face issues around miscarriage and loss. And especially during the pandemic, it's just added a whole nother layer of risk, right, in our communities. So if you need more information, please visit marchofdimes.org. We always recommend people go to their provider to ask information. But also, we have a big event coming up on May 22nd that video is really pointing to, which is if you just care about, even if you're not a woman and pregnant today and all of that, if you just care about, you got a wife, a spouse, a partner who's pregnant, if you're a grandparent and you care about these issues and making sure that moms and babies are healthy, we invite people to join us at marchforbabies.org. And our March for Babies virtual event, which will be May 22nd, because that's a way to get involved, to advocate for change, advocate for policies that will improve health outcomes for all moms and babies, especially those that look like us.
It's been a great opportunity for us here at the Informer and for me personally to do the walk for March of Dimes. I've done it a couple of times out in Prince George's County. And what really fascinated me is I think it's the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity
Yes.
that has partnered with the March of Dimes to support, healthy babies. That's an amazing thing because it means that it's just not women or Black women, but it's their friends, their spouses, men who want to see healthy babies born and grow in our community. So I just thought I'd give them a shout out. I'm sure there are a lot of fraternities and sororities that participate, but I've seen them out there. So I
Oh,
wanted
yes.
to mention that.
Alpha Phi Alpha is Phi Active Phi Beta Sigma. We just signed a new partner, Kappa Alpha Psi, as well as Delta Sigma Theta and Zeta Phi Beta and Sigma Gamma Rho. We have a lot of the Divine Nine that are very, very focused and very supportive of our work, and we're so grateful to all of them.
Well, I'll give you credit for some of that. And so thank you so much for being with us, Stacey. And yeah, we're going to continue to get the word out, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck.
Thank you so much. It is so good to see you.
Likewise, likewise.